evening. Here's top news newsletter starting with headlines. Military operations launched against terrorists across the country. Al-Muallim need for forcing countries to yield international resolutions. Putin to substitute for political solution to crisis in Syria. World's largest floating oil terminal launched in Iran. On the Syrian view, an army unit targeted with a literary terrorist vehicle convoy that was passing on the road in Jabal al-Zawiya in the countryside of the northern province of Idlib. A number of vehicles were destroyed and the rest were damaged, with all the terrorists on board them left killed or wounded. Terrorist organization dens in Abu Duhur area received direct hits at the hands of the army, and many terrorists were killed, others were injured, and their weapons were destroyed as a result. In Jisr al-Shughur area, the source confirmed losses within the terrorist organization ranks in Ain al-Bardiyya and Dhus al-Bayad village, where dens were targeted. Many terrorists were killed and others were left wounded in army operations in Jabal al-Zawiya area and Kafr Takharim, the most important among the terrorist supply and infiltration routes from the Turkish side. Foreign and Expatriates Minister Walid al-Muallim affirmed the Syrian people's determinations led by President Bashar al-Assad to combat terrorism and the need for intensifying international efforts to defeat terrorism. Al-Muallim met Minister of Foreign Affairs of Belarus Vladimir Maki and accompanying delegation as talks concentrated on the latest developments in Syria and the region. He added the events have proved that terrorism has no limits and poses a threat to the international peace and security, underlining the need for forcing countries which support terrorism to comply with the international relevant resolution and to stop all forms of support terrorist organization. Maki, for his part, affirmed his country's support to Syria towards the events, highly appreciating the policy adopted by Syria to come out of the crisis. On bilateral relations, the two ministers showed the desire to put cooperation in all fields in the interest of both countries. Belarus capital Minsk will soon host meetings of the Syrian-Belarus Joint Committee, which will an opportunity to develop relations between the two friendly countries. While in the Russian view related to Syrian crisis, there is no alternative to the political solution to crisis in Syria, Russian President Vladimir Putin said. President Putin indicated that the reason behind what is currently taking place in Iraq and Syria is outrageous foreign interference, the double standards, and dividing terrorists into good and bad. He reiterated the country's support on Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Putin said that steps taken by the countries which participate in the coalition to fight terrorism are not up to the danger of terrorism, which cannot be combated only through our stakes. He stressed that Russia will continue to support and help Syria, Iraq, and the regional countries in countering terrorism. He affirmed also that fighting terrorism should be according to the UN Security Council resolutions and the international law, particularly the principles of respecting states' sovereignty and non-interference in their internal affairs. While in the Iraqi view, a terrorist suicide bomber struck at the security checkpoint, an area north of Baghdad, killing at least 15 people. Security and medical officials said the blast in Kazimiya also wounded at least 14 people, the officials said. The nightly curfew imposed on Baghdad since 2004 was lifted among celebrations of Iraqis whose capital is targeted by terrorist attacks. The latest was 2 days ago, when more than 37 people were killed and 87 injured. Staying in the Iraqi view, a major counter-offensive on the ground in Iraq against the ISIS is being prepared, top U.S. envoy John Allen told Jordan Betra news agency. In the weeks ahead, when the Iraqi forces begin a ground campaign to take back Iraq, the coalition will provide major fire points associated with that. AFP quoted the U.S. coordinator for the international coalition against jihadists as saying, "The Iraqis are expected to lead the offensive." Allen also dismissed accusation that there was been a delay in the supply of U.S. weapons and training to Iraqi groups. With our last news, Iran has launched the world's largest floating oil export terminal in the Persian Gulf waters. The 2.2 million barrel floating oil storage unit FSU, dubbed the Persian Gulf, came on the stream of Soro oil region. The FCU has a capacity to take some 200,000 barrels per day of heavy crude oil produced Iran's offshore oil fields of Soro. The launch of the FSU will significantly increase Iran's capacity for crude oil storage and exports. Iran's total in-place oil reserves have been estimated at more than 560 billion barrels, with about 140 billion barrels of the day. That was all for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nibal Hneidi. Good night.